Hello everybody, this is Greg29407 back with another edition of Neverwinter. We're here with Dodge Raider, our Guardian Fighter, and Sawbones. We're going to do something a little different this time though. We're going to do some tanking versus DPS. As you guys know, we've been playing a DPS mainly character this whole time. But the Guardian Fighter in this game is really set up as a DPS or a tank character. So I wanted to kind of demonstrate the differences between those two things. So first of all, let's go ahead and review what we've got so far on our power list. Again, I'm playing Dodge Raider as a DPS. We're using Cleave, which is our at-will power, and we're using our sword to just swing at everything. This is our main power. We have Tide of Iron, where we're actually hitting them with our shield. It does a lot of good damage. Lunging Strike is an attack where we're leaping into the action. We use that almost every single time, of course. It's a great takedown power. One of our dailies that we use is Villain's Menace. And this is really a case where we grow really large size and do a lot of damage. We get some buffs. Our class feature that we're using is Shield Talent. That just gives us more stamina when we use our Guard Stance. Enforced Threat, or as I like to call it, the Angry Face power. This is one of our main powers as well. But this is actually a tanking power. As you can see, it taunts the nearby foes. It marks them. And basically what happens is it means that our enemies are going to be more attracted to fighting us. We create more threat. So that's really the basis of what tanking does. And so we have a primarily DPS character, but we also do some of these tanking powers as well. So what I'm going to do is, for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to replace this one for DPS, and I'll bring it back for tanking. We're also using Griffin's Wrath, where we take our sword and slam it on top of somebody's head, and it stuns our enemy. This has been a really good power. We're using Terrifying Impact as our second daily power. It kind of does the same thing as our Villain's Menace, but it does do some stun. I'm kind of using them interchangeably. I am going to take Knee Breaker, which we're not using, and which breaks target's knees and does some massive damage. I'm going to actually add this, and I'm going to swap this in with Enforced Threat. So this is going to be part of our power, because I want to test this power out anyway. Let's see. We're not using Enhanced Mark now, but we will. This is a tanking power. The marked targets now build threat while marked, and we generate 75% more threat when striking them. And then we have it rank 2, which is another 75%. Guarded Assault while blocking is a kind of something we're not using right now. And Combat Superiority is something we also had. So, whenever you're doing a DPS character, you want to just do as much damage as possible. That's all that matters. And that's what we're going to do first. So we're going to do this mission called Thrax. He's a giant dragon, and it's really the first mission that you have where you can play with other players to take down a common enemy. And let me show you on the map. Here's where we're at, and we're going to race over here. Thrax, and he's going to be about up in 3 minutes, so I better head on over there. So I'm going to get on Electric Glide, and we'll head over. Okay, here we are. Whoops. Guess I'm going to show these guys who's boss. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at one other thing too. Let's look at our feats. Of course, all of our feat powers we have been taking up till now. We're taking toughness, which increases hit points, and we've taken increased strength. We've taken all of the increased armor class and defense. We've increased our combat advantage, increased critical chance, increased our encounter and at-will powers, and increase more threat. So that's the one thing we've taken so far that has something to do with tanking. So I took that because you could play complete DPS, but it's kind of nice to play a little mixture. I could have taken something a little different though, like this one, prone, but I took that, so I got a little mixture of the two. When you get to level 30, which we've just hit, you can play these 3 groups here, which we'll get into in a few minutes. Okay, so Thrax is coming in 12 seconds. I'm going to mainly just be beating the you-know-what out of him. I'm going to try and stay on the side. He does damage with his tail and with his head. Of course, he blows fire and has teeth. So I'm going to try and stick to his side as much as possible. And I've got Sawbones who's going to heal me up and keep me healed. I'm going to do that on both times. He'll be much more important when we play tanking, but you'll see. All right, here he comes. Let's try and stick to the side here. Oh! Boy, he does some big damage. I'll stay out of his face. There are a lot of players here. Now stay out of that red thing. Notice that they had a big red thing on the ground around him and then in front of him. Sawbones is hopefully healing me up here. Kind of up in the air a little bit. This guy's tough. It's almost getting healed up. Oh. I'm stunned. Oh, all right. So basically, the good thing about playing DPS is you just go in there and just swing your sword and just do as much damage as possible. That's how we've been playing the whole time. And in a battle like this, you've got a lot of other players doing the same thing. So it's very helpful. Uh-oh, we're getting a circle though. Get ready to attack. So we're trying to stay out of his face. I think we have a tanker up front, which is keeping, see there's a tanker up there. Just keeping him occupied. Notice he's not turning around, he's just staring at that one dude the whole time. It allows us to do all this damage in relative safety. Uh-oh, I'm stunned again. Uh-oh. Alright, there we go. See that one dude? He's got him, oh! Almost got him, almost got him. I'm not using my guard stance at all on this thing. I'm just doing pure damage. Whenever one of my powers comes off cooldown, I'm using it. But I'm just throwing out everything I've got. Almost got this guy. Got him. Woo. All right. So we'll be back in another 15 minutes. Where do we get our... All right, let's talk to Harper.
We must stop what is happening in Craftsman's Rest. Good work. Hopefully, Thrax stays down. I could hear the sounds of battle from here, and feared that you might not return. I hope you are prepared for more battles like that. As long as we battle the cult, dragons are sure to be in our future.
Okay. So, let's go back over here, out of the way, and look over our powers again. Okay, so we did, again, we were throwing everything we had at it in our showdown, but we weren't doing our guard type thing, and we were just trying to do as much damage as possible. Tanking is very different. Tanking is a situation where you need to be the person trying to protect your fellow players. We saw that one guy that was keeping the dragon occupied the entire time we were playing. He was facing one direction. He was taking all the damage, all the brunt of the damage, and he was allowing us to do all the fighting while he was getting me. He's like the bodyguard, basically. A tanker should be the first in the battle and the last out. Now, we're going to give that a try. I'm not sure if we're going to be as effective as that other guy was, but first thing we want to do is we want to adjust our power some. Let's bring back the force threat, which we got rid of last time. So I want to equip this power, and we'll get rid of the knee breaker, which seemed to be an okay power. Okay. Oops, did that not work? All right, let's see. Equip power. Swap with knee breaker. That should have worked. Let's see. Nope, didn't work. Oh, that's weird. Let's give it a try again. There we go. Okay. We're going to keep Griffin's Wrath. Now let's see. Let's, we have this power, which is Terrifying Impact, which we don't really do very much with. I think we have another one that we can find. I thought there may be another one of these. I guess not, so we'll keep that then. I think it's this one, yeah. This one right here. I don't have any points in it, but this would be a one that you probably want to take except instead of this one. Fighter's Recovery. This is not really a tanking power, but it does give you temporary healing for a large part of the damage you deal. So this may help out. It adds your heals when your healer you have with you is maybe falling behind. This would give you an extra boost. So this would be maybe a good one to have if you want to be a tanker. I do want to take this enhanced mark power, so I'm going to add this to my thing. What this does is it mark targets now build threat while marked and generate 75% more threat when striking them, and then rank 2 another 75%. We don't have rank 3 yet, but so what's going to happen is every time I swing my sword, I'm going to get that Thrax's dragon. He's going to say, "Hey, I know who you are." He's going to come after me. We want him to face us. So in the last round, we wanted to stay on the side and the back of him to do damage. This time we want him facing us face to face, mano a mano, and keep his attention. Let's get this, and we will replace Steel Blitz. Okay. Now let's look at feats. Now again, I kind of went over some of the basics here. When you hit level 30, though, then you can start to focus on what groups you want to do. So, for instance, I started taking A power up here. This is called the Conqueror section, and these are all DPS related. See, we can improve action points if we get hurt really bad. We improve temporary hit points, stunning flourish. This temporary hit points when you allows you to deal up to 15% more damage. When you critically strike, begin bleeding. Shield Slam and Tide of Iron powers now deal 20% more damage. I'll definitely be taking that one. So these are all DPS type things. And this next section is called Protector. And these are powers more along lines of tanking. And when your stamina falls below 30% of max, you can take less damage from all sources. So you're trying to limit your damage you're taking because you want to be able to stand in front of the damage dealers longer. You're going to have more chance to deflect attacks. Weapon Master Strike now also reduces your target's mitigation. So basically what you're trying to do is buff your own defenses and maybe debuff your opponent's defenses. The third group is Tactician. This is if you're playing regularly in teams, and this really helps out your teammates. Encounter cooldowns reduced. Mark targets now deal less damage to your allies. So you're really is more of a tanker / utility player. So those are useful for that. So doing these three groups after level 30, and again level 30 is a little low level for this game. allows you to start to really customize your character the way you really want to. And over here, you would have made some slightly different changes to what I've done. I don't want to respec my character just for this, but you can redo those as well. So that's kind of a summary of what we've got and how we can do things. Do I have another point here? No. Okay. So that's kind of a summary. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the same battle we were in before with Thrax, and we're going to fight him again. But this time we're going to fight him as a tanker. And we will see how it goes. Now, if that other guy that was in there who was doing such a good job is still there, then I think what we'll do is we'll sit alongside of him and join forces with him. And maybe a little bit off to the side. So if he starts to lose threat, then we'll pick it up for him. And if we start to lose it, then he'll pick it up for us. And what we'll see is I'm going to be using my guard quite a bit more to try and guard myself from taking so much damage from his flames and everything else. And also Sawbones will really have to do a lot more work healing us up. So that's going to be a big thing. We're also probably use a lot more medication. Our instant heals, we'll be using a lot more of those. And we'll be swinging our sword because it increases threat, but not for the main purpose of doing damage, but mainly for the main purpose of getting his attention. So we will put this on hold when we get closer to the time when Thrax is back. We'll come back. Okay, here we are. We're back in the map where Thrax is going to be here in less than a minute. We're going to again be trying to play as a tanker. Again, we're not really tanking yet. We're not tankers yet. We're kind of tanker apprentices, I would say. We've taken a few tanking powers that we have available up till now. We're not able to single-handedly force this giant threat to attack just us. We should be pretty good at it. Should be better at it. And we're going to give it the old college try and try and help out our teammates, all these other players who are here, so they can do the damage and we can track some of the really be their bodyguards. Is basically what we're saying. All right, so he's going to be here in a few seconds. Here we go. Again, I'm going to be using guard quite a bit more this time than I did before. Well, before I did 0, so yes. All right. Here he is. Look at me, dragon. Got him marked. Got him marked. Good. Oops. Ooh, boy, that hurt. Up to somebody. Oh, you pushed me back. Got him marked. Got him! Hey, we did it! Now, we had some help. We weren't the only tanker that was there. That's why I think there's another guy who was pulling. But you saw he had those red things on the ground that were dragging his damage towards us. And we also had some other players that were healing us up and helping Sawbones keep us healed up, which was also very, very helpful. When you have healers in the game, a lot of times they want to heal all the players, but also keep the tanker healed up. So that was a case of some really, really good teamwork, I think. Let's go ahead and take our counter here. All right, so that was good. So hopefully that shows kind of the difference between DPS and tanking. Tanking is really a specialized skill, and a lot of people love playing. I've played it somewhat. It's not my primary source. Usually I use DPS or debuffing. Debuffing is my favorite. But tanking is very valuable, very important, and if that's your play style, you ought to go for it completely. I recommend Guardian Fighters for that. This is really the one area that's really focused in on for tanking, DPS and tanking. So that's your best bet for this. But you can kind of tank for as any kind of character, I believe, or for the most part, but as Guardian Tanker, probably the most effective. So I think we're going to call it a day on this. Hopefully this was a nice little primer, just get you started. As you go through the game, you'll find a lot more detail on tanking than this, but this will maybe kind of be the beginning for you. So until next time, this is Greg29407 along with Dodge Raider and Sawbones saying good day, Abe, and we'll see you next time.